Hey everyone, welcome to another question and answer show here on What You've Played, where I, with a lot of your help, we're going to try and answer some of the internet's most burning board game questions. The first question I have this month is, what makes a good board game store? Now, straight off, there are lots of different types of board game shop. There's board game cafes, like board game club places, and there's board game stores that sell board games, you know. But across them all, I have to say, friendly staff and clean toilets. Those are the two main things. Something that stops me from going into any board game related establishment is when they don't look inviting. I am fairly confident with my general knowledge of board games. I feel like Ron Swanson going into a Home Depot. I know more than you is how I feel when anyone comes up to me in a board game store. And that's fine. But I tell you, there are some places where the windows are all tinted and full of posters and you can't see in, or you can see in way too much and anyone in there looks like they're an exhibit in a zoo. Places just need to be inviting. I understand that, you know, you want it to look cool. I'm a dive bar kind of person. That's what I want to be. But you have to be invited to invite people in. Lights, a welcome sign, a friendly smile, those type of things. Some shops I've noticed in my life do miss out on those key little things. If we're thinking just of board game stores, I like them when they are interesting, not very clinical. I like it when you've got rows of things and you can explore and you feel, because part of my enjoyment of board games is the thrill of the hunt, hunting down, finding something cool. However, I have also been in places where you just think, what is the point of being in here? There's just no chance I can find what I need to find. I can't even, now I'm in, I can't find the exit. It's a labyrinth of mystery and pain. Now, where board game cafes come in, there's three things. I almost said two. I'm going to say three. There's three things that I look for in a board game cafe. Firstly, we've already said toilets. Firstly, I want there to be food on the menu, but not loads of food. Just, everyone knows that a place that does three things well is better than a place that does 300 things terrible. I personally would like to have that elaboration of the menu put into drinks. Lots of drinks. Weird drinks. I like that. And also, personally, I would quite like there to be an alcoholic option. But the thing I do really dislike about some board game cafes specifically, you go in, you pay to be there. You go in, you're paying by the hour. So I went recently somewhere and it's, £3 an hour. You're sitting in there and you get some food because you kind of feel obliged to eat because you're in a board game cafe. So you get some food. And I swear the last place I was in, they came up to my table every 10 minutes for about 3 hours to offer us more drinks. Now, I understand that that is how they make money. But at one point, I just was like, I need to leave. I cannot tell this person I do not want a 15th cup of coffee again. And I was just like, please, just leave me alone. And maybe that's a personal thing, but I was just like, I'm paying to be here. Can you let me buy a game in peace? Ugh, it was a nightmare. One thing I think that's really good in a board game cafe, obviously, a great game selection is wonderful. I don't need that because I guarantee I will be bringing games with me to play rather than playing anything in the library. That's why I bought these games, so I can play them. But I did notice the last place I was at as well, there was some really real newcomers to board gaming in there, which is fantastic. That's a great thing because you get them hooked. But they were struggling to learn some of the rules. And at one point I was like, I might just go over there and teach them how to play this game myself because I knew how to play it. And I didn't because the person working there did it and they did a really good job of it. But I would love to see on a board game library somewhere that's like on every single box is a QR code that you can scan which takes you to a YouTube video which teaches you how to play the game. Most games have some type of YouTube video to teach you how to play. Hello, welcome to Watch It Played. That's literally what we do. But I thought that would be a really good thing because I think a lot of people who are new to board gaming might not even realise that there is a YouTube video to learn how to play the rules. It's like, that would be a really cool thing to have in a shop. I love the idea of there being a swap meet kind of marketplace in there. A shelf, I've seen it in a few places, a shelf where you can bring all the games that you want to sell, bring them there, leave them on their shelf, and regular punters come in, and there's the discounted second-hand area, and the shop gets a take and you get a take, and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to package them up, you don't have to do anything. Man, if there was a place like that near me, I would have put 100 games in there by now. But what do you think makes a good board game shop? What do you think makes a good board game cafe? Let me know what you think in the comments below. The next question we have is the Spiel des Jahres relevant? The Spiel des Jahres, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing incorrectly, but there we go, is the biggest award in board gaming, or at least that's what they say. And most people tend to agree. It's an award given out each year for almost 30 years they've been giving the award out. And it's the game of the year. That's what Spiel des Jahres means. There's also now a Kinderspiel, which is the kids' game of the year, and a Kennerspiel, which is the connoisseur's game of the year. Is it relevant? That very much depends on whether you are winning the award or a German family. Because that's what the award is for, right? The Spiel des Jahres is for German families. That's the whole point of the award. It's, hey, everyone, this is the best game of the year that we think your family could enjoy on your weekly German game night. This is the game you should go out and buy. And they sell a lot of them. I think I heard that if your game wins a Spiel des Jahres, you sell like an extra 100,000 copies of that game in Germany. Because every German family says, yeah, and they go and buy it. Now that means that the kids game, I think, is incredibly relevant as well for that market, because the same people who are going to play that light Euro game normally are also probably thinking, well, we've got kids and we should get the kids game as well, so that's going to sell a bunch. I think the connoisseur's game is the award that they're trying to make lean slightly more to hobby board gamers. However, I think that the actual difference between the connoisseur and the game of the year, the actual weight, the difficulty of those games, it's kind of merged a little bit in recent times. But is it relevant for the likes of you and me? I don't think a bad game has ever won the Spiel des Jahres. I think many incredible games has won. If a game wins the Spiel, I'm very much likely going to want to at least try it. For me, the kids game, I don't care about. I don't have children and I never will. So I don't care about the Kids Game Award. But if you have a family, then I think you should pay attention to what wins the Kinderspiel Award. Because I guarantee you it's going to be a good kids game. But just to take the Spiel des Jahres Award on its own, there are a few factors as well that really play into it. They're not going to allow, or they're not going to vote for, because it's voted for by a jury of like board game people in Germany, industry people. A war game, for instance, and a Ameritrash type of game is probably not going to win ever. It's normally some type of Euro-esque game. And in recent years, they've definitely had a propensity, a leaning towards cooperative games. So if you hate that style of game, then maybe don't pay attention to it. What bugs me sometimes is when people that I see, hobby board gamers, going, oh, I don't agree with this, or I don't like this game, or this isn't for me, or the Spiel has lost its way. I hear this a lot. Spiel des Jahres have really lost their way now. And people don't realise that that award just isn't meant for them. It's meant for what game we think a German family is going to like. And for that, for what they do, I think they nail it all the time. They are pretty consistently good at voting for great games for that exact market. Are they always games that I need or I want? No. But I think for what they do, they nail it. It's just what people want from the Spiel des Jahres, they don't deliver on that, because that's not what they were promising to do. Is it relevant? I think it is relevant for what it is, which is that for games for German families, or just families in general. I think what really kind of loses its way is calling it the biggest award in board games. And in one way it is, but I don't know if that's ever really what they were trying to do. We all kind of like hype it up. I do the news and watch it play. The Spiel des Jahres is normally the only award I will talk about, because it's the biggest awards in board games. But should it be? I don't think it wanted to be the biggest global award in board games. I think it wants to be the German awards for board games. It's a funny one. What do you think? Have you ever been shocked, amazed, disbelief over what's won or lost in the Spiel des Jahres? And what's your favourite game that's ever won the Spiel? Let me know in the comments. And the final question I have this month is, what are your most necessary expansions? I've said on this show a couple of times before, I'm not the biggest expansion type of guy because I barely get time to play these games once. So expansions are not something I normally go for, but by necessary expansions, I'm thinking of what are those games that I am never not going to play with the expansion. You know, what now I've got it, or a module that's included, I'm always going to play with it. I'll never not, if I have the option. And I'm not talking about games that are really good now there is an expansion, because if it wasn't good without the expansion, there's too many games. I can just ignore that game forever, frankly. I will always play with the extra decks in Agricola. There's lots of different decks of cards to play with Agricola, which is Uwe Rosenberg farming masterpiece. And the cards of Agricola kind of drive the gameplay. It's a worker placement game, but you've got these cards which kind of like drive your engine. Often right into a ditch, but there's lots of different extra decks, lots of them, and I've got some of the weird decks, like with aliens and crop circles and nonsense in there. But I'm always going to play with a few of the extra decks. I'm always going to want to play with the seasons board for viticulture. There's two different types of board, I think, or maybe more than that now, where you've got summer and winter is like the standard board, but in Essentials Edition, I'm pretty sure, you've got spring, summer, winter, and autumn, although surprisingly, not in that order. I always want to play with that board because I really like it. In fact, I'm never going to play Viticulture without at least throwing in some of the modular expansions from the Essentials Edition. I'm always going to throw in Tuscany stuff, like the little map where you got area control going on. I love that. You know, Mamas and Papas and all the bits. I'm always going to add in expansions to Viticulture. Same with some of the modules for Taverns of Tiefenthal. I'm never going to play that game without at least throwing a few of the modules into that. And I think if I'm going to play Ticket to Ride, which is a game I still absolutely love, if I'm going to play it 2 players, I'm always going to want to play on a board that is for 2 or 3 players. Normally the Nordic countries board is my favorite. I think the regular Europe or USA map for 2 players, it makes Ticket to Ride into a like non-aggression pact almost. I want it to be a bit more cutthroat, where you can't help but be cutthroat. I mean, I guess I'd never play a game of chess without adding in the cards from Nightmare Chess, but that doesn't really count. I think there's an argument as well for some really classic games that I love. 2 of my favourite games of all time are Carcassonne and Alhambra. I've recently fell back in love with Alhambra in a big way. But if I'm going to play Carcassonne, I am going to want to throw in some type of expansion. But normally that means playing a different version. Playing Carcassonne the Castle, Carcassonne the City, or Mists over Carcassonne, which is the cooperative version. Alhambra as well. I love the base game of Alhambra, but I always want to throw in a couple of those little modules. There's one where you get change. Just that alone is a great little module. But I think Alhambra just really springs to life in a quite beautiful way when you just pepper in a few of those modular expansions. They're fantastic. Which expansions do you find to be necessary? Do you really need to play with that? You just think, I ain't playing without this now, I've got it. What, crazy? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, hey, thank you so much for watching. I just appreciate you so much. If you've got any questions that you want answering on the internet, or any fantastic answers to these questions maybe in this episode, then pop those down in the comments. I'd love to see them. Until next time, everyone. Thanks for watching.